Tyler, can we start with some Indie Clover general updates?
Well, hi, everybody. My name is Tyler. Like Curtis, my pretty wife is not here. She's the original founder of Indie Clover. She's off at a photo shoot right now. So my role in the business is I do a lot of these calls, meet with a lot of onboarding prospective franchisees. I also work with all of our existing franchisees in more of a supportive manner. Kind of, wear a lot of hats in the business. We're still fairly new. We just hit our 4-year birthday, anniversary, whatever you call it, last week. So things are rocking and rolling. But yeah, Bennett was right. I was just out in Boston. We're opening our 3rd location out there this week on Saturday. So that one's kind of exciting because Courtney, which Bennett has a video of Courtney talking about her franchise experience. If you haven't watched that, Courtney's an amazing franchisee.
Can I summarize that real quick and see if I'm remembering it correctly? Because I do think it's a pretty cool story. 2.5 years ago, she had heard about the brand Courtney out of Boston and said, hey, when you guys are coming to Boston, I want to be a manager. And it was like, well, no, we're like a small franchise that just opened up doors, but you can buy a franchise. Well, she was like 26, 27 at the time because she's still just like 30 right now. Anyways, looking into it compared to any other retail franchise, I mean, cost-wise, where she thought it was out of her reach and she was just calling to be a manager, she ended up becoming a franchisee. She just bought one store. Let's see how it goes. She didn't see herself as a business owner. After opening up that one store, kind of caught the vision, then opened up the 2nd store. And then Tyler just opened up the 3rd store. Or he was talking about opening up the 3rd store, and she bought the entire 5 million metro population to continue to expand from there. Or 2.5 years ago, she just wanted a manager job at a thrift store. So kind of cool. And there's lots of stories like that it's not your typical, not typical. It's not like a Wall Street investor that's coming in, it's like first time business owners that are coming in a lot of times and to a really simplified model.
Yeah. And to your point, Bennett, the franchisees we're looking for, Indie Clover is such a local business. You're going to be meeting with a bunch of sellers, maybe 60, 70 sellers every single week that are coming into your store and selling with you. So the more local you are, the more you're involved in your community, I think just the better your store will do. And that certainly has been Courtney's case and the case of all of our stores that do well, franchisees that do well, are very involved in the community. So yeah, Courtney's opening up her 3rd store. This one's kind of on the southern end of Boston. So it's a different area of Boston than her 2 other locations. So she was a little bit nervous, like, man, I don't spend a lot of time down there. Is it going to do well? She's already booked out 2 weeks with booths and she hasn't even opened yet. Usually during the first week, you get a ton of bookings because people come in and experience it. But having not even been open yet, she's already booked out 2 weeks, which is great.
So it's this one we're talking about right here that she just opened up or is about to open up, and she's booked out her booths. And how many booths did she have?
In that particular store, I think she has 65. In Wakefield, which was her first location, she launched with, I think, 70. And we just took her out 10 additional booths because she's booked out like 3 months. When we delivered her order to the Quincy store on the south end, we brought her an additional 10 booths for Wakefield because she's just booked out so far.
Yeah.
She's like, I just need to maximize more space and get more booths so we can make more money.
Poor Courtney.
Yeah, she's absolutely crushing it. And she's developed a really good team out there. She does not manage all of them herself anymore. She's got a manager a regional that runs all 3 stores or will run all 3 stores. She's very active on social media, which is helpful. Side note, you do not have to be a social media expert to be involved with Indie Clover. We provide a ton of tools for you guys to rock with social media. She just happens to be very active on social media, which I think helps. And then, yeah, Bennett, to your other point, our Sugar House location in Salt Lake. If you're not familiar with Utah, Sugar House is kind of on the east side of Salt Lake. That's a corporate location. So that'll be our 4th corporate store. And that store opens not this Saturday, but the following Saturday. We tried something a little bit different with that store. That'll be our smallest store. It's only 1,700 square feet. But we were still able to fit over 60 booths in that store. Might get close to like 65 booths as we get a little bit closer and find a little more room for booths. But if you're able to find a smaller store, obviously the rent's going to be a little bit lower, which is just nice because that's one of, might be your biggest expense, between labor and rent. Rent's just a big expense. So we don't necessarily encourage franchisees to find like the smallest space possible. That's certainly not what we're going for. Usually we aim for about 2,500 square feet, but Sugar House specifically, we just couldn't find anything. And so we finally found the right one. It was a little bit small, but as we mapped it out before we signed the lease, we were like, hey, we can fit this amount of booths. It worked out. So yeah, we're excited for that one. It's going to be good.
Awesome. Well, cool. So appreciate you sharing that. I'd love to jump into a little bit of the backstory. Like, what was the problem that you were trying to solve when, there's Uptown Cheapskate is a big competitor, and they're based here in Utah, a big, that's a national franchise. I'd love to kind of hear that backstory of you and Keena as you guys thought of the model and said we could do things differently.
I was actually unemployed at the time when we started Indie Clover. I had just left a general manager position with Crack Shack Bennett with a Savory
Yeah.
Fund. I was kind of looking for something new, but my wife, Kina, I mentioned she's the original founder of the business. She has always been super, super into thrift and primarily reselling. So just has a bunch of stuff. We have some kids, wants to get rid of it. Where's the best place to sell it where you can actually make some money? And there's not really a ton of options. I mean, yes, you can hop on Facebook Marketplace or something like that, Poshmark, Mercari, but then you're handing out your address, you're kind of negotiating one-on-one to sell one item. So what's the solution if you have a bunch of stuff? You can always go donate it at like a Goodwill or something like that. Or you can take it to kind of the staple for retail cash for clothes, which is the Plato's Closet, the Uptown Cheapskate, Buffalo Exchange. There's a lot of those. The big problem there, if you've ever sold your clothes there, you'll know that they just don't give you very much money. So you have these clothes that you've invested a lot of money into. When you're done using them, how do you get the most out of those used clothes? If you take them to one of the competitors I just listed, you're going to make pennies on the dollar. And that's kind of the biggest problem that Kina solved as we got kicked off was what is a business model where we can get people to sell their stuff, but actually make a majority of what the clothes are worth. And that's kind of how Indie Clover was born.
I want to point out something else as well. Like you have the seller and the buyer, right? There's two different customers there. And a lot of what you just hit on was like, that's from the seller's perspective, right? Like the seller's going to have, depending on who they are, but the majority of the time it's like, I want to keep 2/3 of the money, not 20 cents, right? And they're willing to just do a little bit more work because they're tagging their items and things like that. But what about from the buyer's perspective? Like as a buyer, what's the difference between going to an Indie Clover versus a Plato's Closet?
I think I'm a little biased, but I think Indie Clover is probably the best place to shop if you're a thrifter. And the reason why is because all of our sellers that come sell with us are only selling for a week. And in that week, we're incentivizing that the sellers have the option to discount their booth as we get later in the week. So the sellers are incentivized to, sell as much.
Like these little
Yeah,
tax.
I love that. Yeah, exactly. That 50% off. So we do discounts on Thursdays and Fridays only. And a seller can choose to discount their booth the same amount on Thursday, Friday, a different amount on Thursday, Friday. They don't even have to discount on Thursday, Friday, but it's a fixed 25, 50, or 75% off.
So the model here is every Saturday, you have 60 new people coming with booths. And that's what we were referring to at the beginning of the call. Like Courtney's already booked out 2 weeks and she hasn't even opened her store. That's people saying, I want to pay you $30 plus or minus $10 for this booth space for the week. And so because of that, I want to make my money back, right? So I'm not going to bring in crap and I'm not going to price it, outrageously high or anything like that. I'm pricing it to sell. And then by Friday, it rotates. So as a buyer, every single week, I'm like, oh, there's new stuff. Now, within the week, there could still be new stuff because there's restocking. So like this person, maybe they've already sold a lot. So they get a message, and this is all on this from the buyer's perspective, it's all from the seller's perspective, they have an app. As they leave, they don't have to keep coming back like, how much money did I make? It's live, how much money they're earning and what their inventory is. And then it'll prompt them, hey, come restock. It'll also prompt, hey, do you want to do a discount? So they don't have to come back in the store. They could just say, sure, do a 25% discount. And then the Indie Clover employee in the morning is throwing that out. And then we're doing that on Thursday and Friday, again, to try to clear out. So both of those customer angles, that's why Indie Clover has been very successful. Like, let's move in next door to Plato's Closet, because there will be some people that just will sell at Plato's, but very small portion. And for 80, 90% of the people, like this is a better experience on both the seller and the buyer. So we look for that when we go to market, like, is there local Uptown Cheapskates? Because that's where we want to be. And that's why I love the model. Super, super cool. Getting into the model a little bit more, I would say that my favorite part about Indie Clover, aside from, all of this is really cool, but risk versus reward is usually what I'm thinking about, or what anybody's thinking about when we're doing business. And there's the financial risk. Sometimes even greater risk is I have to quit my job, because if I buy a Jimmy John's or Orange Theory Fitness or a Crumble, I have to work in it full time. That's just required. And that's what most franchises do. Where Indie Clover, you could definitely do that. Courtney does do that full time. And a lot of franchisees do, but a lot of franchisees don't. So it provides the opportunity to add a secondary source of income because of the simplicity of the business. Again, here's the whole business. Tyler, do you know how big this one is?
This store is maybe 2,300 square feet. Also on the smaller side, Like I said, we're aiming for about 2,500 square feet.
But yeah, still plenty of space, 2,300 square feet. But you could get in here. You have typically one employee, and then we'll go over the marketing employee because you have two roles typically, but you usually just have one employee and it's very simple to manage. So if you're there Friday nights, again, outside of 9 to 5, you don't have to quit your 9 to 5. It's been designed that you could still manage and own this without quitting the 9 to 5. Friday nights is cleanup, right? Everybody's clearing everything out. And that's an important time to be there while you're figuring that out for the first X amount of months, right? Until you really have good management in place. And then Saturday mornings, when everybody comes in and sets up, that's when you're going to meet the sellers. That's when you get the biggest bang for your buck on just being you and having them be, posting in the social media and leveraging 60 sellers all posting on their own social media. Then you give them $10 in-store credit. So they immediately start buying from their neighbors and everybody starts, making purchases, and it kind of gets everybody excited. And then now you have 60 posts going out. Friday night, Saturday morning, and then maybe 30 minutes a day outside of that, checking in as far as cleanliness and just making sure it's orderly. Tyler, what would you add to that as far as, I don't want to underplay it, like it's still a business. It's not going to go on autopilot, right? It takes work, it takes effort, but it is one that has been very successful with people not quitting their jobs. And how are they making that work?
We got a great example of a set of franchisees that live in Utah, and their first location was in Gilbert, Arizona. They both are working professionals. They did not quit their job. They went and opened that location. And now they just bought, similar to Courtney, they just bought the entire Phoenix metro. So they're opening their third store this summer in Peoria. They'll have 2 more after that. But they did not quit their job and never have quit their job.
And they've never even lived in the state.
Never even lived in the state. Yeah. I mean, they did hire a manager right away. They spent a lot of time on the front end, making sure that manager was trained. She came up to Utah for the training as well. They did a lot of prep work beforehand. But to your point, Bennett, about hours in the store, I think you nailed it. Friday night is when all the sellers are coming to pick up their stuff. That would be a great time for a franchisee to be in the store, making those connections, asking the sellers how their experience was. And then Saturday morning is when you're welcoming in 60, 70 new sellers. Saturday is also our busiest sales day, right? Because all the inventory is new and fresh, and all the sellers that have spent the time setting up their booth are going to stick around and shop. So Saturday is 100% the most important time of the week. And what's great about that is it's not landing or conflicting with a regular 9 to 5 traditional working schedule. If you're able to, keep your job and be there on Saturdays, Friday nights, I think you're positioned really well. As far as the 30 minutes a day, I do think, like you said, Bennett, this is a business. Having it be more passive is just, you have to earn that. And I think that comes by just investing the time on the front end. So maybe it's not 30 minutes for the first month. Maybe it's more time than that, but it certainly can get to that point. And I've got so many success stories that have turned this opportunity into a more passive opportunity. So it certainly is possible and doable.
And just like for retail, again, I mean, we're looking at it, it's just simple, right? We don't have inventory. All of it's on consignment. Even this up front, the newer stuff, still on consignment. Indie Clover pays for all of that. And then it's just sold the exact same way. So it's very simple to run. There's only 2 positions. So I mentioned the first position is I forgot the name, Tyler.
Our first employee, we call seller advocate.
Seller advocate, okay.
They're the employee that is going to help check out customers, organize the booths. They manage like our booth setup form, which is the form where all of the, sellers are kind of organized. They'll clean the store, they'll open and close the store. That's kind of their primary role, is just to be there and to support the store and the sellers and customers. And
you typically have 1 to 2 on staff, or Saturdays, do you have 3 or 4? How does that look?
It's typically just 1 per day or 1 at a time, except for Fridays, we increase that maybe 2 or 3 employees. And then Saturdays, 3 or 4 employees.
And then the other position is the marketing position. And you mentioned that you don't need to be an expert at marketing. Marketing is hard for franchises because you need to be on brand. So you typically just see 1 social media account. But if you look, all of the Indie Clovers have personalized social media accounts because it's a local business, right? And the way that Indie Clovers achieved it is this marketing piece. You'll hire 2 different positions, and one of them will be a marketing position that just follows all of the SOPs. But Tyler, I'll let you kind of get into what that position is. And I mean, because right now, what's most impressive to me, I can go look at all of the Instagram pages and they all look the same. It's just a different person holding the clothes or the whatever, you know what I mean? But it looks like it's all being done by the same person.
Yeah, we spend a lot of time on this calendar, which prompts or provides the franchisees with what they need to post. My mom is a franchisee. never touched social media. She was our third store, so very early on. And she was very nervous about that because she's like, I just don't want to be behind the camera. Our social media assistant, that's the name of this position Bennett's referring to. They come in the store 2 to 3 hours a day. That's it. We pay them a little bit more, ranging from maybe 15 to 20 bucks an hour. And their only role is to just execute on the calendar that we provided. Bennett mentioned that all of our social media accounts, we have different social media accounts for every store. One of the reasons we do that is because the inventory is different in every location. So when the social media assistant walks in the store, they're going to highlight 10, 15, 20 booths with just specific items. They'll post it. We also do DM shopping. So if somebody wants one of those items and they can't make it in the store, they can DM us and claim that item and pay for it over their phone. That's cool. And then after they've done what we call those are their lucky finds. After the lucky finds are done, which might take 30 minutes, they're going to go create a custom reel. Again, we've given the prompt for that. They'll create that piece of content and then get it posted. And then we have on our corporate side, someone that kind of audits all that. So before you hire somebody, there'll be a lot of training they'll go through. But after you've hired them, if something is amiss, we're going to catch it and call it out. Just make sure that if you just don't even know, okay, does this look good or bad? We will let you know, hey, this needs to be reworked or we need to fix this or whatever. But yeah, I think it's definitely added to, if you're local to Tulsa, Oklahoma or whatever, right? It's like there's going to be items in that store, in that specific store that are hot for that market. And we just want to provide the best presentation of what's available that day, that week for you to come shop. So if you are local to any market, you can follow the Instagram account or the TikTok account and you can see what's available in store every single day or every single week, which I think brings a ton of customers in that otherwise wouldn't.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, the DM shopping. While we're on that, is there anything else that we should hit on with tech? I mean, I probably butchered what the tech actually is, like the sellers are getting their own app and they can see it live and request discounts and things like that. But yeah, on the tech side, how do you guys utilize tech to help franchisees?
Well, I'll speak on our seller app for a minute, it's evolving all the time, which is really cool. But we launched this maybe 7-8 months ago, and it was an instant hit. I mean, everyone loves it. But basically, if you're a seller, it doesn't cost anything extra to use this, by the way, for the seller or for the seller in the store. Every time an item is sold, they're going to get a push notification or a text, whatever they choose, saying that, hey, an item has sold for this amount of money. They can also go on the app and see their running total for the week with a breakdown of how much money in live time they can expect as a payout. So when it comes to like restocking, yeah, if they're selling a ton of items, they're going to get a notification that's like, hey, you've sold X amount of items. We're recommending you come in and restock. If you do come in and restock, we're going to put a little magnet, just like the booth number or the discount on your booth, which indicates,
yeah. And like fresh clothes, come look at me.
But yeah, it just says restocked. And so if you are coming into shop, it's like, hey, I can look at this one and it's like, cool. There's new inventory in this booth. The other part of the app, I mean, apps are great because it's a billboard that just lives on your phone, right? And so we wanted people to keep the app, not just for their selling week. And so Square, which is our point of sale, they have their own loyalty program. But what we did is we took what Square does and we brought it into our app so that sellers and shoppers can see their total points accruing over time and they can cash those points in for discounts on items sold or purchases in store. That's a little bit newer, but it's gone really well. Our Square rep told us that we achieved like 10,000 loyalty members faster than he's ever seen any of his clients. It's still fairly new for us, but we have a ton of customers that have opted into loyalty and we can see every single week we review it. We're just getting tons of loyalty members and we can see when they're using their discounts, they're all using it. So it's been interactive and fun. It's being used a ton and we're getting great feedback on that as well. So I think we'll try and gamify it more as we continue to develop more on the app side, but that's what we have going on right now is those two features.
Awesome. Love it. We're going to open it up to Q&A here in just a few minutes. Again, if you have questions, they could be specific to you. You could throw them in this chat, raise your hand, unmute yourself, whatever. But where do I want to go with these last 2 minutes? Yeah, let's go over the cost. So the franchise disclosure document in the item 7, it's 174,000 to like 222,000, something like that range, which includes everything to get up, open. I mean, and maybe we should just kind of start breaking it down. What are the breakdowns of those major costs? And I would love to hear about tenant improvements as well. And if that's been playing a role, what advice do you have as we're opening as far as cost goes?
A quick breakdown is out of that, we'll call it 175,000. The first 35,000 is our franchise fee. That is going to include everything that you need from the corporate side as far, training, branding, all of our SOPs and processes. I mean, basically anything that you'll need as a franchisee to feel supported and feel successful. It includes all of that. It also includes 2 different points of training. And Bennett, I think this is, we still need to change the training fee on there because it's just a flat 35,000 for the franchise fee, no training fee. The training fee is included in the franchise fee.
Yeah, we've been announcing that, and which is till the end of the year.
Perfect.
And maybe we want to mention the other change as well on the marketing for the first year, how the marketing fee, the $600 going towards do you want to explain that as well?
That marketing is just a recommended marketing budget that you're seeing on the item 7 right there, a recommended marketing budget to put into your store prior to opening. We've got a whole document that we'll go over at training on where we feel like it's best to place that money. We typically do the in-person Culture Week training a month before you open. So that's still plenty of time for you to get involved in marketing prior to opening. One of the ongoing fees, so we just have our royalty fee, which is 5% of gross revenue. We can talk more about that, Bennett, if you want. But the training fee is $1,200 for your first year. Half of that $1,200 is going to be poured directly into local advertising for your store. That marketing fee is technically a national marketing fee that the corporate entity takes and then distributes out to benefit all the stores. But again, for your first 12 months, just to help newer franchisees get a bigger lift on marketing and draw more customers in, we're devoting half of that to local
Back to the local, yeah. So I mean, an extra $6,000 being reinvested into the local store. So those are kind of the 2 benefits this year as Indy Clover really starts first year. Like, hey, let's start growing rather than just waiting for calls. We're starting outbound, and those are kind of the 2 offers that we have this year as we're start growing. Okay, continuing down here. So you can also see, if you guys haven't seen the FDD payment method, who are you paying it to as well? Because a lot of it, the franchise fee is going to Indy Clover, but marketing is, as incurred. That's why there's a range, because there's discretion there. Okay, so leasehold improvements. Your lease, that's going to be, a few months worth of lease, usually 3 months worth of lease, depending on where you're at. But leasehold improvements, that, Tyler, is paint, contractor, flooring.
Our build outs are super simple. We have yet, actually, I got to take that back. Our Saratoga Springs store entered a new build, but that's the only store we've done as a new build. Everywhere else has been second generation, meaning we're entering a space where there was a prior business, which means our franchisees don't need to invest any money in HVAC or flooring or drywall or any of that kind of stuff. The electrical, all that stuff is already in the store. You're just making some modifications. Typically, our stores are also getting some money as tenant improvement allowance from the landlord directly. That might be $20,000, might be $50,000, just kind of depends on the landlord and your negotiating power, I guess. But yeah, our leasehold improvements are simple. We have very few requirements. We want the flooring to look a certain way, and we want there to be enough lights so that it's bright and fun. We want some dressing rooms, pretty much it, right? I mean, that process, we work one-on-one with franchisees to build a layout before you ever sign a lease. So we're going to walk through like what the space is going to look like, how many booths will fit in, what walls need to be removed. All that kind of stuff happens with us once an agreement is signed and once you find a space you like.
And let me add to that as well, and then I'll jump to another question as well. Let's answer this real quick. The 80,000, because this is something that you didn't do the first year or 2, right? But now you've packaged it to kind of make it easy and say, okay, now your fixtures, your furniture, office, everything is just bundled into one price. We deliver, and like all of these booths are coming prefabbed, right? Yeah, they're prefabricated and they're just putting them together there.
Everything in that package will be delivered. It's just on you to install. Most of the stuff can be installed yourself. There's a few things you might want to have a contractor do, like the security system, the security antennas up front, installing your counter properly. But most of the stuff can just be installed yourself. We deliver it in person. A couple of the items, like the bigger items, like the shelving and all that kind of stuff. Everything else is just shipped to you. And again, you assemble it and you're good to open.
Yep. So it makes it super, super simple on the opening end as well. Okay. We have travel and expense to attend the training. Again, that's as incurred. How far do you live? And then just some miscellaneous fees right here. Starts off with some payroll and then additional funds. And then like Tyler pointed out, this does not include tenant improvement, but there's no guarantee you get a tenant improvement. So the other thing I wanted to mention though, Tyler, is the real estate. Indy Clover does have a national real estate team that knows the specs and helps. So you need to go find a space while we're looking for a space with you, right? It's not on you to go find the space by yourself.
We'll help as much as you want us to help. Curtis, who's on this call, they had a relationship with a local broker, so they're using them. We're not taking offense to that by any means. You guys use whoever you feel most comfortable with, but if you are needing some help on the real estate side, just finding a location, we do have like a brokerage, like a boutique brokerage that will find you somebody locally. They'll partner up and then they'll send you you on a tour of 5-6 locations in a single day. So it makes the process quick and easy for you. If you don't like that round of, locations you toured, we can just get another one set up.
And that's going to be kind of everything through the process, right? It's here's the way it's been solved. We've done this 22, 23 times now in the last just 4 years. Rely on the process, right? So you don't have to be left guessing in there. But thanks for the breakdown on that. Yeah, let's jump into the Q&A. I do see one.
Hey, Bennett, I just have a quick question. I can't tell on the top part of the current page if that 174 to 225, is that like net or the cost? Okay, can you?
Let me explain it. This total cost is all of these added up. So the way that I'm going to conceptualize this, if I'm investing into something, I want to look at how much money does it take to start it versus how much money I could take back. So I would subtract this because these are operational expenses, right? It doesn't cost me $25,000. So it's like, okay, well, my total cost to open up this now is this number minus about 30. So maybe it's 180, 190, 170, whatever that is. That's also before tenant improvements. So if the average is getting 20,000 tenant improvements, then again, so my net is around that 150 to 170,000. And that is also accurate compared to all of the franchisees I've spoken with. But anyways, that's kind of the breakdown. And then you would also minus this 5,000 because you guys aren't being charged that. And then I jump into the item 19 and then compare, okay, based on how much I pay and how much am I investing, what is the average that I'm going to make back? And in franchising, there's 4,000 something FDDs that you can look at. If you have a 3-year payback or less, you're in the top 1%. You can look at 100 FDDs. Most of them won't even show you average earnings. I mean, the vast majority. So that's kind of how I conceptualize not just the cost, but and then also the return. Did that answer your question? And do you have any other questions outside of that?
Yeah. And follow-up question, is that estimated earnings average including a store manager, or is that assuming that the franchisee is kind of like managing day to day?
The quick answer is this, it's a mix. Tyler, you might have a better answer for me.
Yeah, that's a really good question. We have like 6 Stephs at Indy Clover that are managed or franchise. So you'd fit right in. But Bennett was right. It is kind of a mix. It's really hard to tell. Like, for example, my mom's location in St. George, Utah, she kind of goes back and forth where she manages it sometimes. And then sometimes she'll go to Italy for a couple weeks and then she's paying way more than she typically would in a salary to employees. So her payroll kind of goes up and down. But we don't really look at that when we're building these estimates. We just build them based off of the profit and loss statements. I can give you my estimate. I would say probably more than half of the locations have a manager. Probably 75% of stores do. That number, I would probably say safely that number is including a manager, again, for 75% of the locations.
And then Steph, we can also, I don't know where you're at, if you've spoken with somebody or not, but after we get through the third call, we have lots of videos with franchisees. You can watch them and then say, I want to talk to this one, that one, or all of them. And then kind of diving in. Which area are you in?
I'm in Vineyard, right by home base.
Okay, awesome. I mean, are you looking outside of the state then?
I mean, ideally, I would like to start in the state because I want to get comfortable with retail and everything, but not opposed to outside afterwards.
Well, the only reason I ask is because Utah's gone. So the couple that Tyler was talking about is from Highland, Utah. And I think that was the same situation. They wanted to start, but Utah sold out so quick that they ended up purchasing inside of Arizona, found a manager. I know another, Zach, the franchisee, he owns 2 out in Dallas area. Say he was a Utah person as well, wanted Utah, but he ended up actually relocating. So not saying you have to move, but I do want to be a little bit, I guess, more upfront on where we're at in Utah, that there's no more territories, which maybe that brings us into one other point of like the territory size. If you look at the Indy Clover, I brought up the maps, like where we exist and how much and how often they're spaced out. You're getting really good, generous territories, a lot more. And that's just usually one of the big benefits of going with a brand that still has larger territories. It's not like we're trying to put a store every 5 miles and it's like, okay, well, can we squeeze one here and here? Well, maybe, but what's that going to do to this revenue, right? So I really like that on the growth side. Good question.
What is the size then of the territories?
Again, it's going to be a little bit of a mix based on the density as well. And also if it's a new market. But like if you're, Tyler, maybe I'll let you talk on that before I throw out numbers that you might change.
Our standard since we opened has been a 20-minute drive time radius, which I think is good because it does, if you are in a more dense area, the drive time is going to be shorter distance, but might take you longer to traffic or whatever. But if you're in an area where it's easier to kind of get to different areas, it just provides more protection for your store. for. I think that comes out to like, depending on the area, maybe a 10 to 15 mile radius.
Yeah, with a few 100,000, 50,000 to a few 100,000 population. Any other questions, guys, in our last minute or two? So the way that the process works, we dropped a link in here. Really, the next step, if you guys haven't met with somebody, is looking at your area. So as far as areas sold out, Utah's sold out and Idaho is sold out. Correct, Tyler? Nothing else sold out completely. Dallas, can you give me the update on Dallas as well? Because I know Zach owns both of these, but we also have quite a few people inquiring on Dallas. Is he bridging what's open in the Dallas market?
As of right now, I mean, he hasn't signed another agreement. He's very close on an SBA loan for, I think, an additional 2 locations.
Okay.
Dallas-Fort Worth is massive. I mean, there's
That's huge, yeah.
13 uptown cheapskates there. So plenty of room there. Yeah, Vegas is sold. The Phoenix Metro is sold. Utah's sold. Idaho's sold. The Boston Metro is sold.
So, okay, and in Vegas, it looks like there's 2 open. Is there another one? Are they still opening some? So they're sold, but they just haven't all been developed yet?
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, Boston, Phoenix, Vegas, Utah, Idaho, and that's it. Everything else, there should be good territory left. As long as, you're in that territory, you can shoot an email over. We can do a demographic report. Again, we're looking at 100 different points. You get a score from 0 to 100, and it kind of breaks it down what we're looking for, what we found, why, and then schedule a call and we can start breaking down the FDD. The education process typically is about a month. It's usually 5 calls. It's kind of a get to know you call. Then we send over the FDD so we could review that on the second call along with the territory analysis. Then on the third call, it's a group call with Tyler, or I should say a one-on-one call with you guys and Tyler, diving in a little bit more into the plan. How are we going to fund this? What's the growth strategy? All of that. After those 3 calls, we have a really solid plan. Then we enter in validation stage. So then we start connecting you to franchisees. Now that we know you have a good territory and that you have a funding path, then it's okay. What I found out on my first 3 calls and all this study, now I need to talk to existing franchisees and validate what expectations I should be having. After that, we schedule the kind of the final approval call. So it takes about a month of doing a call or 2 a week. Not too long of a process, but anyways, just kind of explaining that. So if you want to enter that in, start that process. If you haven't already, jump in on that link. Otherwise, thanks for joining. Tyler, appreciate your time, man.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Thanks,
everyone.